thank you everyone for attending the July 2025 Women in Program and Project Management Coffee Chats on navigating mass layoffs, the impact on program and project managers. I am Danielle Gervacio, Graf. I hold a doctorate in business administration with a focus on business intelligence, and I'm currently pursuing a PhD in project management. My research on layoff management was recently awarded a Best in Human Resources award, and my research spans across workplace culture, healthcare, technology. Additionally, I did create a think tank platform called the Culture Reset. This think tank platform is focused on rethinking organizational change, and it always aims to bring forward practical people-first solutions that make a real impact. Additionally, I am one of the co-founders along with Jade for Women in Program and Project Management. And again, I'm so thankful that all of you are here today and so excited to get started on this. So what will we be doing today? Today, we're going to be discussing what you can take away from this presentation, layoffs in 2025, the big picture, a short list of companies that are affected by layoffs, how project and program managers are being impacted, what we are hearing from them, how project and program managers can go from disposable to essential, how we can move forward together, what you can do today, and resources and next steps. And then we're going to open the floor for an open discussion and questions. Now, during the open discussions portion, I really want to hear from you. I'm going to ask three prompting questions, and then I'm going to open the floor for that discussion. So let's get started. So what you will leave here today with. What you will leave here today with is a clear understanding of the current landscape of layoffs, insights into how and why PMs are being affected in today's job market, and what this means for your career path, what other PMs are facing, and what strategies are actually working on the ground. You're going to leave here with tools to reframe and communicate your value. You're going to learn how to advocate for yourself in organizations, measure and articulate your impact, and position yourself as essential and not expendable. You're going to leave here with some actionable career strategies, tips for building visibility, strengthening your resume, networking intentionally, and preparing for interviews in a competitive market. Now, what I hope you will leave here today with is a renewed sense of community and direction. To get us started here, I want to talk about layoffs in 2025, what I'm referring to as the big picture. So this is not just how it's affecting program and project managers, but all layoffs in general. So to start off with, this year alone, from January to May of 2025, there have been 8.4 million layoffs. This is a 2.4% increase from last January to May of 2024. And based on my past research, I conducted research from 2020 to 2023 on layoffs. This number is increasing each year. So I wonder what next year is going to be. Hopefully we can turn down that trend though. Now, many of these layoffs are from internal operations and corporate functions, and this is including PMOs. Middle management and non-customer facing roles are being disproportionately affected, and of course, project managers do fall within that scope as well. Now, what this has created is a flood of highly qualified candidates navigating a market with fewer open roles and increased competition. Through my past research, I've been finding that that layoffs have been impacting individuals for a longer length of time throughout the past couple of years. And this spans across industries: tech and software, healthcare systems, manufacturing and logistics, finance and consulting, and education and nonprofits. But this isn't the only industries that are impacted. So here are a few companies that have been impacted. From tech and software, we're looking at companies like Google, Amazon, Meta. Healthcare and life sciences, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, CVS. Startups and emerging tech, we're looking at Stripe, Duolingo, Asana. Logistics, retail, and manufacturing, companies like UPS, Nike, 3M, and corporate consulting and finance, Deloitte, PwC, Goldman Sachs. These are some of the major players in their field, and their employees who have been seen as highly qualified and highly competitive are being laid off and having difficulties finding new roles. So this is a big indicator that things are kind of getting worse in this market. So how are project and program managers being impacted? Organizations are taking this opportunity to not just downsize their workforce, but restructure their workforce. This means that they're shifting to leaner operating models, Roles are being merged, automated, and distributed across regions. Project and program managers are asked to take on broader, less defined responsibilities, and some organizations, project managers are also being absorbed into operations and products. This is telling us that organizations are not seeing the value that program and project managers bring to the table, which are leaving these roles in a vulnerable state. So why is that? There are several reasons, and I'm just going to mention 4 today. The first reason is that we're a non-revenue generating role. As project and program managers, we are not generating revenue directly. We are putting in systems that will help benefit the organization, but we are not direct revenue earners. Reason number 2 is non-billable in client-facing or revenue-generating models. Majority of the time, we do not bill our hours directly to clients, and if we do, we're not billing out the total scope. So this means less revenue coming in from that client for our roles. Reason number 3, we're really considered flexible. Although we're program and project managers, a lot of our tasks that we do fall under operations. And the last reason is project cancellation does equal instant elimination of associated roles. This means that when many projects are being canceled, the project team members that aren't program and project managers are being affected as well, which means organizations are laying off more people with what they feel like is a reasonable justification. Now, what are we hearing from project and program managers about these layoffs? A lot of program and project managers that I've been speaking to, they feel invisible, they're misunderstood, and they're undervalued. There's instability. Right now, we're seeing a lot of contracts being cut short and internal teams being dissolved because projects are being canceled. There's an identity crisis out there. We spend 40 hours a week at work, so it's no surprise that when we begin to question our roles, we also start to question our sense of identity. This ties into a theory called deprivation theory, which also suggests that when something essential is missing, we experience a sense of loss or disorientation. And finally, there's a lot of career confusion out there. Program and project managers are starting to question whether they should stay in this field. So now, what can we do? We need to start to change the conversation. We need to show organizations why we as program and project managers are not disposable, we're essential. And to do this, we need to reshape how we talk about what we do. You as program and project managers, you are a strategic driver. You're not a taskmaster. You need to tie your work back to business outcomes. Think revenue, savings, and efficiency. We're going to talk about how to do this a little bit later on in this presentation deck. You're going to think like an executive. You're going to want to speak their language and solve their problems. Really understand what your executives and what your leaders care about, and then aim to satisfy that. And lastly, you're going to document wins that matter. Deliver 3.2 million in savings by blank. It's going to hit differently than managed project timelines. You really need to start putting those metrics out there and really show how you as a project and program manager, you're impacting that organization. So here are 5 actions that you can do today to help change that. The first thing, and probably the most important thing that you can do, is document your impact. You need to start tracking your wins and your metrics so that when you are in in interviews, in your reviews, and writing your resume, you can use those impact statements for those reasons. Next, you're going to build your personal brand. And this means you're going to share what you know on LinkedIn, in communities, and in panels. Start to speak up about what you're doing, and also provide a visual for how your brand is. You're going to provide a visual for your brand as well. And we have some resources that's going to help you on that. Next, you're going to upskill with intention. For this, I'm not asking you to go out and get every certification that you can find just to add some letters behind your name. Really think about what you want to do. Although it's a difficult job market, you should be happy in your role. And to do this, you really want to think about what you want to do and then align that with the current demand for certifications. Really find those certifications out there that make an impact as well. You don't want to get a certification, especially if you're paying for it, that doesn't mean as much as something that like a PMP is going to mean much more than a LinkedIn certification for project management. So really think about that. Next, you're going to network with a purpose. In last month's discussion, Natalie really discussed networking, and it's because it's it's such a strong tool that you can use. A lot of individuals today, they're not finding roles through job boards, but rather through networking. And so for this, don't just connect, contribute. Join project management groups like Women in Program and Project Management, attend events, and engage meaningfully. And then you want to start to build those relationships and not just show up when you need something, but show up for them when they need something as well. And then you're going to speak up. You need to start advocating for your role in performance reviews and cross-functional meetings. And so, like I mentioned, all of that is great, but what I believe is the main thing that all project and program managers need to master is how to document your impact. So for here, I have examples of bad versus good, right? A bad way to document your impact is manage multiple projects across departments. This is bad because it's too vague, there's no scale and no outcome, versus led 3 cross-functional projects simultaneously, delivering all on time and under budget, resulting in 15% increase in team productivity. This shows scope, execution, and measurable results. Another one is responsible for managing project budgets. This is very generic. It's very similar to the first bad example, and it lacks in size and results. Versus the good, manage 4.2 million in project budgets for fiscal year 2023 and 2024, reducing overall spend by 10% through cost optimization strategies. Now, this quantifies your responsibility and demonstrates your impact. On the bottom here, I have a formula for writing impact statements. The first thing you're going to start out with is an action or verb. So for the good over here, we use managed. Remember, for this, you're going to also think about the tense of it, right? If it's present tense, it's going to be managing, manages. If it's past tense, it's going to be managed. A lot of resumes that I review, they forget this. And so I just wanted to really point that out here. The next thing, you're going to take a task and responsibility, right? The task here was project budgets. They managed the project budgets for fiscal year 2023 and 2024. The method used was cost optimization strategies, and the outcome was reduced overall spend by 10%. Also, 4.2 million in savings. So you're going to get all of that together, and then you're going to reword it so that it makes a little bit more sense there, because it's not always going to be action, verb, task, responsibility, method, and tool use, and outcome. So go ahead and rearrange that. We do have an interview guide that has how to do this a little bit better and more detailed. So you will be receiving that at the end of this call as well. So those are things that you can do today by yourself, but as a group, as a community, we need to start thinking about how we can move forward together. And so this is how we can move forward together. Remember, this is not a solo journey. You're going to seek out support, join mentorship circles and resume review groups. Women in Program and Project Management does offer a resume reframing service that we can provide for you. Keep an eye out. You're going to refer for jobs and look for hiring signals within our network. I also want to add to this, start looking for layoff signals as well, because when you start to see that, you want to start to look for jobs. It's more difficult to find a job when you don't have a job than when you do have a job. And what I mean by this is finding a job is a full-time job on its own, but it's easier because you have that security already. So you're not desperate for everything that comes along. You're able to be a little bit more picky when you do have a job out there. So that's what I mean by that. You're going to start advocating for other project and program managers. You need to start sharing stories and educate leaders on the value of project and program managers. It's clear through this year that our role is seen as disposable. It's seen that everyone can do it. But I worked with people who aren't project managers, and there was a lot of delays. There's a lot of obstacles that come with that because they do not have the methodologies and trainings that we have. So really share these stories and educate your leaders on why your role is important. And then you're going to share resources, templates, job boards, interview prep. Do what you can to really reach out to that community and grow it. The more we share, the stronger we become as a community. And I'm going to kick it off there, right? I'm going to practice what I preach, and I'm going to offer you some resources and some next steps. The first thing, I'm going to remind everyone that women in program and project management, we offer a reframing resume service. And so that's 5 free resume reframings per month. I am going to open up August 1st. And so if you want to send me your resumes today, I can include that in there. And that's something special that we offer the individuals attending the Women in Program and Project Management coffee chats. So go ahead and send that over today if you want your resume reframed. This is about a week turnaround time. And then I also offer free calls if you want to discuss it a little bit more, get additional tips. And I also respond to any questions that you may have through email if that's how you prefer to communicate. Next is the LinkedIn personal branding kit, and this is how to build your personal brand on LinkedIn. I When I started building my personal brand, LinkedIn was where I started, and then I expanded out from there. So that's something that we're going to offer you today. It's a complete breakdown about how you change your picture, how you change your banner, how you frame content there, and what you should be putting on your LinkedIn. So that's a really great resource that we haven't released to the public yet, but after this call, it will be released and it will be directly emailed to you as well. And then lastly, our interview guide. This is something that we did provide in the past, including last coffee chats, but this interview guide has 177 questions from big organizations. It has how to utilize the STAR format, how to create impact statements, and then tips on in-person and virtual interviews. So really great resource there. It's going to be sent to you. I did want to open the floor, but this is going to be an interactive session. So I am asking everyone to go ahead and speak up. And so these are the three questions I want to ask everyone. Have you or someone you know been impacted by layoffs recently? What's one thing you're doing differently in your career planning today? And where do you feel the biggest gap is right now? Skills, support, or visibility? You can answer all three if you want, or you can answer one. Really depends on what you want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and open the floor. And whoever wants to speak up first, that would be great.
I like to go first. Um, I definitely know some people in my circle that have been impacted by the layoffs, especially in tech. I work in tech and in nonprofits, so I've definitely seen some of those losses as both the public companies are doing it, but also some of the shifts within governmental grants, which have really affected nonprofits. Um, One thing that I'm doing differently in my career planning at this step has definitely been the breadth that I network in. Like, I'm not limiting myself to just kind of doing those kind of networking events, but also through different Slack groups, through different groups like this, and really going more deeply into building connections with people and understanding kind of the breadth of what's possible. Because I have been in nonprofits for a long time. I didn't really check all the other facets that were available to me. So I've been really utilizing networking as that tool to help me grow and just understand how other people are approaching it as well. Um, the biggest gap, the biggest gap right now for me is probably like a cross between skills and visibility. I am not, a traditional project management. I feel like it's kind of just come to me through the way I've structured my roles. So trying to figure out, whether or not to kind of traditionalize my approach to it, or just do I need to be visible to a different group of people, has been the kind of crossroads I'm at as I'm doing this networking.
I think that's beautiful that you're trying to expand out. What sectors right now are you looking at getting
I'm
into?
still I'm still looking primarily in tech. I'm worked in small startups, so I'm still in kind of the startup area, and I'm still open to nonprofit work as well. Um, right now, I actually have a background in health, so I've been looking a bit into health tech as well, but not as much traction there. But that's where I'm at right now.
I think,
Hey,
oh, go ahead, Jed.
sorry. First off, thank you so much for being brave to sharing this. This is what we hope to do, right? Provide a safe space for everyone. So I appreciate you sharing. I heard health tech. I'm in health tech. Uh, what state are you in, if you don't mind sharing?
I'm in Georgia.
Ah, okay. So one of the ways that I was able to uh, shift in the vertical that I was in, because I was previously in big tech and media and entertainment, and I went into health tech. by looking into state roles. That's
Mm,
an opportunity. And knowing that you have some nonprofit experience, I think that would be a nice transition. So take a look on those.
I can definitely do that. Yeah. And I mean, I'm so grateful for groups like this because of these kind of tips where you can just learn what else is available to you.
I think one, Jay, thank you so much for sharing that because I think that's a great way to think about how this industry I mentioned earlier how project and program managers are questioning whether they should switch fields, but Jade's a perfect example about how you're not just my best friend, she's a nurse. She's a nurse practitioner. And so when she's looking at roles, she's looking at nurse practitioner roles. But Jade has went from entertainment to big tech to healthcare tech. I've gone from government contracting into aerospace into supply chain. Um, it's so easy for us to jump fields, especially when we're not looking for technical program management or project management roles. We're looking at general, um, because we do drive that project from a general standpoint versus a more technical one. So I think that's great that Jade was able to share that experience. And thank you so much, as Jade said, thank you so much for being brave to be the first one to speak up. I know it's always difficult to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah. What I'm also hearing, because a friend of mine just reached out this week. Ah, Magenta, I see your hand raised.
Oh, yeah, I had, I wanted to discuss the questions, but I can go after you, Jade.
Okay. Um, so I see a comment here by Danielle Romero. Visibility is the main issue. So I want to address that. When I was looking for work to transition out of my previous role, I really networked and I used LinkedIn quite a bit. Not only did if I had a role that I was interested in, I would look to see if I had any connections in that company. And then I would actually reach out to my connection and just kind of like, hey, would you be open to having a coffee chat, a virtual coffee chat? And so my process was just not only was I networking, but I really wanted to know, like, are they happy there? What's the culture like? So that was kind of the conversations that I was having with some of my connections. And in addition, if you don't know that person directly, but you know another person within your network that knows that person, reach out to them and ask for an introduction because I've done that as well. So some of the ways that you're right, visibility is really tricky, right? Especially when AI is reviewing your resumes, the recruiters are having different, employ different tactics to receiving so many applications. And so any way that you can put yourself uh, on the top. Another way that I did was reach out to the hiring manager directly. Sometimes the hiring manager is assigned to that job post. So I've done that as well. I'll reach out to them, of course. Sometimes there is a fine line in stalking and being respectful when you're reaching out to someone blindly when they don't know you. So just think of ways that you can make that connection and let it be a genuine one where they'll be open to, sharing information about that role with you on a sort of like an unofficial chat on LinkedIn.
I also wanted to add to that, Jade. You mentioned that there's a point of like stalking. Um, I'm one of those really irritating people that will reach out to every single person at a company, especially if I know I want to work at that company. What I do is I will add everyone that I could add from that company, reach out to them. I get to that point of being a stalker, but like a very productive stalker. And I've received a lot of interviews that way because people I found someone at the company that liked what I was doing, that saw that I was taking that initiative to go that extra step. A lot of recruiters will say that they hate it, but I found so many recruiters that actually love it because no one's going to know that that's what you want unless you tell them. And when you're telling someone straight out, hey, your company is a company that I've been reading about, I've been looking, I've been researching, I want to be here. That recruiter is going to say, man, this is a good hire. And I have connections from past companies that I worked for that I did this with, that if I reach out to them today and was like, hey, Kim, I really want to return to this organization. Can you help me out? They'll find me a job at the company that I can work with. So be a little bit annoying. I know that we see things on TikTok, we see things on YouTube, we see things that say, hey, they don't want you to reach out. But I'm telling you right now, uh, we're invisible because we are listening to that tip. We're listening to people saying, hey, don't reach out. Don't keep like calling. Don't keep reaching out to in LinkedIn. I understand where they're coming from, but in my experience, you're gonna find someone, if you keep going, you're gonna find someone willing to give you that referral. You're gonna find someone that knows the hiring manager for this role. Especially with Jade asking about culture, I've also reached out to people and been like, hey, how is it to work at your company? And they've told me, don't do it. They've been having mass layoffs that they're not reporting, and it's not a good time to come here. So really be looking out for that and do reach out. So I completely agree with you, Jade. And then Magenta, you had you wanted to join in on the conversation as well.
Yeah. So I was laid off from my role almost 2 years ago, and I have a contracting job, but I'm slightly different in that I kind of just want to get into project management. I've taken online courses in it, but I can't take the CAPM right now because I can't afford it.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to like maybe get back into admin, like legal admin, because I worked that role before, and also like editorial operations too. But and try and kind of like leverage that and use my skills there, and also if I gain enough experience, maybe like leverage that into the PMP. But it's just difficult to even get that right now. Like I got 3 rejection emails today so far. Um, I mean, so one thing I'm kind of doing differently is I'm just I'm trying to like reevaluate my goals, like trying to figure out where I want to go in a company. Like I'm not someone who wants to move up. Basically, I just want to like refine what I know
Hmm.
about project management, so to speak, and basically just get started. But like the biggest gap, like for me right now, is just getting in the door. I've had referrals, but like, if there's so much competition for a role, it can be hard.
We're in a very unique time right now where I remember when I first started applying for roles, you didn't need to have every single qualification that they have, that they needed. You just had to be teachable and be willing to learn and have some of the qualifications. And so right now, people are really looking for every single one, which is making the market really difficult. Um, Thank you for sharing about your journey. One thing that we are trying to do as an organization is we're trying to go through the nonprofit route. We're trying to get that so that we can start receiving grants and help our members pay for certifications. So that is a little bit like farther down the line, but it is something that we're aiming to do. So I'm hoping that if you don't have your certification by that time, that we can help you out with that as well. But in terms of moving into that project management role or staying within admin, I would love to take a look at your resume and see how we could help do that for you. And then also just talk to you about what roles you're looking at right now and how we can get you in the door. I don't know how much I'll be able to help you with getting into the door, but I would love just to talk to you a little bit more. So if that's something that you're interested in, please feel free to email us and we'll set that up.
Oh, okay. I'll definitely consider that. Thanks so much.
Additionally, we do have clients, it's not a lot of clients, but we do have clients that have roles that are that they're looking to fill. And so when we do that, the first people we release it to is our group on LinkedIn. So be sure you're following that. Um, and that's a really unique program because these roles, they aren't released to the public, they're provided to us, and our clients are requesting us to find like the perfect candidate. for that. So we do have a marketing position open right now, and if that's something that you would be interested in seeking out, please send me your resume and I can see if you match their qualifications that they're looking for as well.
Okay, yeah, thanks so much. You did have a point earlier about, just being trainable was enough, but now you need to like meet all the required plus all the preferred too. And
Mhm.
so difficult.
You're
Mm,
also not alone. A lot of my research participants, they have been spending 2, 3 years looking for roles. So please don't feel like you're alone in this market. It's a very, very tough market right now.
yeah. I also want to share, in this last week, I helped out an emerging, a young college grad that needed an entry level job, and because I knew I had contacts from my previous company, I was able to make the introduction, and it's very common for me to hear that someone who's interested in a role and they're looking at the job description and in their first take is, I don't think I'm qualified, you know? And when I talk to the hiring manager's like, no, no, um, let's have some confidence, you know? So it allows me to coach the person that's interested in the role to tell them it's okay to not meet every bullet point in their job description requirements list, especially in an entry level role, because they're expecting you to not know anything when you're coming out, of college, and that the most important thing is you're willing to learn and your attitude towards that. And so keep in mind, Magenta, I've done the same, right? And studies have shown that the difference between men and women in how they view a job description, men just like they're just going to apply for it whether they have the credentials or not, and then for the women, we're like, oh, we don't have the college education, we don't have the certificates, we don't have the experience, whatever the reasons are, we're so quick to judge ourselves. So, be more restrictive on ourselves on those things. So, something to remind all of us. It's be more confident in your experience and what you bring to the table.
That's such a great point. Um, And before I move on to Jess, I did want to also add that the role I'm in right now with my company, I actually applied for a different role and I didn't meet every single qualification. But because the way I've worded my answers, that I was willing to learn and that I'm a fast learner and I can jump into this, they actually opened a position for me because they wanted me on their team. So also just be open to learning, be open to saying that. And just your vulnerability here today, I can tell that you are open to learning and you are open to what the company has to say for them to provide feedback. So thank you so much for sharing. And Jade, thank you for that too, because we do need to have a little bit more confidence. We're so overly critical of who we are and what we do. Jess, you had your hand up?
Yeah, hi everyone.
Hi.
I'm actually I started off as a project manager and then I transitioned my way into program management. So I have 6 years under my belt. I may look young, but I'm not that young. Um, so I was actually impacted by a layoff about a year ago, and it's my first time experiencing this. So unfortunately, I don't have any support behind me because no one that I really know, like family and friends, they're not in tech. They're all like nurses or finance, accountants and all that. So it's been really hard because I had to do a lot of research. I had no one to really rely on, and I've been joining a lot of communities. Like this one is my first one. And then I do a lot of research through like Reddit because there's a lot of program and project managers there. Um, so a little background about me is worked at a startup, a fintech startup company, and new management came in and they actually laid off my entire department because they had a new vision and a roadmap. It was a mom and pop, so when I first started, I worked with the wife who was the COO of the company, and we both were aligned with the roadmap. But then last year, the husband came in and had a different roadmap. So he, did like a complete restructure of the organization. And whoever she hired, he kind of laid off. And, so stuff like that. But I learned a lot from that. I worked with great people. I heard stories from other project and program managers that, the team that they were on, they, had bad experiences, but fortunate for me, I actually had great experiences with a lot of developers, and they actually taught me how to be a better project manager back then, surprisingly. Um, one thing I started doing differently is I was kind of, I guess, scared because I wasn't sure how I can change industries because that's what I'm trying to do right now, but I'm still uncertain about certain things. I was in fintech. I kind of want to switch into healthcare because I think that's more stable right now, especially with everything going on. But my question would be is like, how do I exactly switch into healthcare? Because I don't have any experience in it. And when I read the job descriptions, it's completely different from what I have experience in. And I did apply to a couple of hospitals near me. They all rejected me or they never responded to me. And I think it's because one, I don't know anyone there. And two, it's the requirements, I believe, because they're very heavy based on what I saw. Knowing, like the system, like Epic, I've never saw it, I never touched it, I don't know anything about it. I'm willing to learn, obviously, and I'm pretty quick with learning new skills and tools. But it's like, how do I actually get my foot in the door? I've also did the cold reach out through LinkedIn. I reached out to the hiring manager. I reached out to current and former employees at the hospitals or healthcare industries. Um, but the main issue is they don't really respond or they're not active on LinkedIn. So that's kind of hard. And then going back to, I forgot who mentioned it, the stalking of, reaching out to recruiters. I've had mixed answers on that based on my research. They did say, most recruiters don't like it when candidates reach out because they have a policy in place. Like, why are you reaching out to me when you can just apply like everyone else? But you're competing with, AI. It's not even real humans. You're competing with AI. So it's like you're in the bucket of, that space. Um, so I was hesitant on actually reaching out to them through their company email, which is what I saw a lot of people were doing. Um, so if you guys have any advice on that, and I think I'm reading your questions right now. Oh yeah, I think I covered all of it. So
Jade, how
Yeah.
how can she get in the door?
So, when I was interested in going into healthcare, health tech, I actually was open to contract work, right? And through that, I was able to find a an agency and a representative from that agency, a contract agency that focused on healthcare. So that is another avenue that you can take by doing some research and um, fortunately, I had experience with that previous contracting company. So through that, I was introduced to the person that was in charge of the healthcare industry. So what I can do is go back into my files and make the introductions for you and find out who that person is.
that'd be great.
Yeah. So one of the things is to also I want to remind you guys, as I had to do myself, gotta be really flexible,
Hmm.
right? Just be open. And when I was looking, I had to intentionally not let all the rejection emails or letters or not let any anything from the industry news to take me to really bog me down. Oftentimes, that's really the challenge. The challenge is controlling your own mind, or at least for me anyway, controlling how I would approach solving this problem for myself. So I had to think in ways of, for example, if I got a rejection letter after rounds of interviews, I had to tell myself, it took practice. I would tell myself, "Huh, I guess I wasn't right for that company. I wouldn't want to be at a company where I don't fit in anyway. You see what I mean? Like I had to celebrate the rejections so that I was able to move on and look for other opportunities. I know this is a mind trick, and I'm yes, thanks, Jen. Your mindset is really key in keeping yourself healthy, having a healthy attitude when you're walking into an interview, having a healthy outlook for yourself, so that you're not coming into these interviews with scars. You know what I mean? You have to have that confidence that you walk in from the beginning. So Jazz, I'm happy to spend more time doing chats with you and making introductions.
Yeah,
For
that'd be
you.
great. Yeah. I mean, I do have nurse friends, but uh I've asked, are they hiring project managers? And I'm actually on the same boat as Magenta. I never got my PMP. I can't afford it right now. I don't have any really project management certifications. Everything that I learned was hands-on, thankfully, by, my peers and just research. So I do have the experience, and I know every company is different. So right now on my LinkedIn, I am branding myself as a program manager because that's the last position that I was actually doing at my last company. But I do have experience with both. Um, so I know when I was looking at the job descriptions for, healthcare industries like hospitals or just healthcare companies, they're actually looking more for project managers. So I'm not sure even like me pivoting back or changing my rebranding myself as a project manager would help because I don't have that experience in healthcare. I did work with a lot of healthcare clients with my last company. So I worked with so it was a niche company, so we did tax credits and we had our own software and we would connect our software with the healthcare company software just to get some information for the tax credit. But other than that, I don't have direct experience, with the Epic system or I can't remember the other name that they use, but
Yeah,
eh,
it's really okay. I think it's training yourself to reframe the response, knowing that you're going to come into an interview or a conversation with those questions. Uh, what I did was I would practice by writing out my responses to reframe my experience to fit the outcome of what they're looking for in that role, and to reiterate that you're you're coachable and you're able to learn.
yeah.
I think that's great advice. I also want to point out, although having your PMP, having these certifications are great, you don't really need them. Jade has been a very successful program manager and she just recently got it, but it's not like I've worked for companies that did not care about it at all.
Yeah.
And I've worked for companies that really like loved it, but it wasn't necessarily needed. I think I work with more project managers that don't have their PMP versus project managers that do. So it's always a nice to have, and but it is expensive. Like it takes time to do so as well. So if that's something that you can't afford right now, it's okay to not have it. Additionally, I don't think that you need to put project manager. To me, program manager, it I always look at it as if you were a program manager, you're a project manager. It's not necessarily the other way around. If you're a project manager, you're a program manager, but managing programs, it kind of encompasses that project as well. So I don't think you need to put your title as anything different because a lot of organizations know already that program equals projects as well. Um,
It's just based on my research. There's so many information out there right now. It's everyone has different answers, even just to pass the ATS. Because at my last company, I actually worked with a lot of ATS, HRIS, and payroll company platforms. So that's how I kind of know how that works. So even just to pass the ATS, you kind of have to meet that job title specifically and all the keywords. So that's why when I did apply to hospitals, I changed my title to like just
project.
project manager or whatever they were looking for because I haven't seen anyone looking for a program manager, even though like the job description kind of has program management in it. So I changed my title back to project manager But on top of that, I was a technical project manager and a technical program manager because I was working in fintech. So
Hmm.
even with that, a lot of my skills are transferable. It's just I don't really know how I could get my foot in the door, especially since I don't have any experience. And even my nurse friends, when I asked them, I was like, "Did you know Epic?" And they're like, "No, I learned it." So it's like, like you said, I agree with you. A lot of companies they write preferred PMP certification, but honestly, I truly don't believe you need it. It's just a nice to have and just helps you, with promotions, raises, and all that. But I think a lot of program and project managers, the ones that I've talked to, they, like you said, they don't have it, and I think they're well. I can't do the statistics right now, but like based on who does have it and who doesn't have it, I mean, I'm on the boat who doesn't have it. So I think those that don't have it, especially, can be as good as those that do have it. And every company is different too. They don't even follow the pen book rules, so it's like,
Hmm.
why do you want it?
I I always used to joke that when you take your PMP, everything you learn from that book kind of goes out the window at the
Yeah,
organization because every organization is different. They develop their own methodologies outside of like waterfall agile. They kind of
yeah.
combine it, mix it all together, so it's really nice to have. One thing that we learned, like I thought that this was so great. Natalie McCauley, she was last month's speaker. And she's a leadership coach basically and a career coach. She mentioned that if you don't have the title, include that title somewhere in your resume. So like that summary, you can include that so that the ATS does pick it up. I'm also trying to get someone right now, to speak at one of our coffee chats, and she specializes in AI training and also looks at the ATS, and she's going to teach us a little bit more about uh how to kind of beat that system. And so that's something that I'm really looking forward to. So hopefully we can get her on the calendar like for sometime soon, which might mean that we might have two coffee chats in 1 month, and I hope you guys don't mind that. So, but thank you so much for sharing that. Is there anyone else that wants to join in on the discussion?
I'll
Okay.
chime in. Oh,
Okay.
sorry. Yeah.
You're fine, Jen. Go ahead.
Yeah, no
Always
problem.
happy to hear from you.
Thanks. I just want to chime in and say I think one of the big gaps that I see just from my experience and is the support. And so I think the groups and spaces like you've created here are extremely helpful for folks to be able to come and find that safe space to just talk things through because it is really rough out there. And I think that the more people that are sharing their experiences and resources, the better. So I just want to, thank you guys for creating that space. And I also commend everyone that hopped on the call this morning or this afternoon, because I think that's a great step in the right direction for everyone.
I agree. Thank you so much for that. Now we do have 9 minutes left. I did receive one question through email, and that question is, during uncertainty, how can managers support teams that are operating at full capacity, feeling anxious about job security? This is something that's really relevant today. I know people who are at organizations that have been having monthly layoffs. I know an individual who survived 6 layoffs so far, and she's getting a lot more anxious. And she keeps asking me if she should jump ship, and that's really up to her if that's something she wants to do. But I think that the way managers can do that is just be in constant communication with their team. Let them know what they can know. I know managers aren't always able to share everything legally, but what you can share, please share it with your team. Try and be as transparent and open as possible because when your team feels like you're hiding something from them, it makes them a little bit more anxious. Through my research, one thing that I found out is that when a manager is being transparent with their team, the individual after they get laid off, they experience less negative effects, especially with that PTSD factor. They are they feel a lot better about how the organization handled the layoff, and they're not jumping into their next role feeling as anxious. They still are looking for those signs, but they're not feeling as anxious because they had a manager in a previous role that they felt that they could trust. So be that person that you can trust, that your team can trust. Be that person that they can go to, have an open discussion, and be transparent. If anyone else has any other tips that managers can help their team out with, I would love to hear it now.
It may not be a tip, Danielle,
Oh,
but what I want to
mhm.
share is at the end of the day, it's really hard for someone who's impacted by layoffs, to feel that it's personal, right? Whether you've been at the company for 6 months, 6 years, or 20 years, it's still going to feel personal. So let's just put it out there. I think it's very natural for anyone that's impacted to feel like it's they're not good enough, right? And they were axed. But I also want to remind us all, we are more than what we do at work. So please remember that. I think we just do so much for everybody else. We forget that we need to flip it back sometimes and give ourselves the love that we give to others, and that this is just a job. You will find work. I promise you. There is another role out there for all of us if we ever need to switch roles or have been impacted by layoffs.
Oh, and going back to I think what you said, Jade, about the mindset of getting rejected, I've seen a lot of quotes out there since, my research last year. um, Rejection is redirection. So, for those that, because even right now, it's my first layoff. I've never experienced this. No one else that I know actually were laid off. They either, quit or they found a better job and stuff like that. I still have my ups and downs. It's very mentally draining. There are days where I just wanna sleep all day, and then there are days where I know I can't afford that, so, I'm still going up and down with my emotions, trying to, get by this, but yeah, the mindset approach is actually very helpful and something that everyone should rely on. All I can say is ChatGPT is my therapist, so, that helped me a lot. And surprisingly for me, when I was laid off, especially because I already knew how the wife was and how the husband was, I never got into the mindset of, "Oh, I was laid off because of me." It was just I already knew that. But the thing that shocked me was it was just out of the blue. Even though I knew he was doing layoffs, it's just my department because it was a startup and the software itself, I helped them build it up. But I like I said, I worked more with the wife, so she kind of knows how I was as a professional, and I worked with her for 6 years. I didn't really work with him, and again, he had a different approach and different vision. So what shocked me and the team was it was just unexpected, like afternoon, and we were all gone. So that's the only thing that kind of affected me. But other than that, I know for sure that it's not me, it's not personal. um, so if anyone's going through, the layoff, it's just know that rejection is redirection, as everyone's saying online.
That's an excellent point. It really is. I'm a true believer that what's out there that's meant to be yours will be yours, and it just might take a little bit. It might take a little bit of time to find. Jade, I also wanted to go back to something you said. You mentioned that when you get laid off, we take it personally. Like we take it as a personal offense. Part of my research looked at the perception of fairness, and all the females in my focus group mentioned that they thought it was personal. They thought that the organization could have handled it better, that they could have done better, that the communication was off. They mentioned all these things about why it was so personal. And then the men in my group they thought it was just business. They looked at it as the organization could not do better because it was just business. It was a business decision. And I'm on the opposite end of that. I think that organizations need to start doing better and treating their employees better during the layoff process, because how you lose them is how you're going to gain them. And that's the reason why we're having issues with knowledge retention. We're having issues with employees staying at companies and being loyal because companies are no longer loyal to employees. So I do think it's personal, and I will take any layoff personal all the time. If we didn't get to your question today, please feel free to email us and we will be happy to answer it. But before we end, I did want to go over some announcements that we have. Now, the slides and resources from today's session will be posted online later on today, and the recording will be available sometime next week. Starting August 1st, we will be accepting 5 resumes to help reframe and strengthen it. So if you're interested in this, you can go ahead and email me today your resume, and I can look over it, and you will be included in the 5 for August. Now, the save the date for the next coffee chat is going to be August 29th. That is a Friday. And I'm really excited about this one. This is a reverse recruiter who's also building a system right now that is going to help target your perfect job. So really excited to have her join us for that. Please engage with that, because she's someone that I really think has amazing things to offer the field. And so we're also looking right now for, on LinkedIn, we're looking to earn our active group badge. So if you can please support us by commenting on a few of our recent posts, that would be great. By earning an active group badge, we're going to be showing up on more individuals' feeds, which will allow us to provide our resources out there to people who need it. And lastly, we're here to help you. So if there's anything that we can do to support you, please don't hesitate to reach out. We are here for you. We want to see our members succeed. We want to help them get new roles. And so we are here for you. Please do not hesitate to reach out. And to end this session today, I do want to end with a quote. Project and program managers, they bring order to chaos and create paths to success. So please keep this in mind about what value you bring, because organizations can be chaotic, and that is our role to calm that chaos. And so thank you everyone for attending today's Women in Program and Project Management coffee chats. It was so great to have you, and thank you so much for your engagement.